Good afternoon to the UAE, or good morning or good evening whenever you're watching this. We are the two fat brokers. I'm Barney from Dubai.
I'm Ben from Abu Dhabi.
Today we are going to talk about things that we think the UAE government can do to help the real estate market in the current market, in the current trends.
Yeah, so we're in May 2020 in the what we hope is the inflection point in the coronavirus for the UAE. Read something this morning, and the inflection point is the point where it changes shape. And I read something that they did some research in Tokyo University that the coronavirus should be gone from the UAE in September this year, and that they drew a little graph, and we're at the top there, and it should now fall off at the bottom. Yes, the birthday and the birth of your son?
Yes, within 2 days of each other.
His wife's pregnant.
I don't know who the father is, but I'm going to find it.
Right, so we're going to talk about options for the UAE government, things that they could do to support the market, and we've done a podcast on what the Abu Dhabi government has done so far, which is around fees. So they removed the transfer fee and mortgage registration fee, which is hugely important. And what the UAE central bank has done, which is reduce loan to value ratios for first time buyers by 5%.
Yes.
So, anything to add to that? Gotta stop playing with this stupid.
I know that we said that we weren't going to talk about jobs and things like that, but I stand by.
We're real estate agents. We don't know anything about jobs.
We're not economists.
So I was going to punch you.
We're just real estate agents. Yeah. I believe that something the government can do is to stimulate job creation, is to simply make owning and managing and running companies in the UAE, small SMEs, just make it easier, make it quicker, less red tape. Ideally, and this will probably never happen, but do away with sponsorship. It's the SMEs that are the lifeblood of any country. And if the government here can stimulate the growth of businesses, that creates employment, that creates population growth. Very rudimentary facts.
And there's an unusually strong correlation between population and the real estate industry in the UAE.
Yeah, I mean, in our last podcast, we mentioned that obviously, our understanding of the oversupply and supply and demand issues that we have here. That is the very obvious way to try and stimulate the issue. So
that's business, and obviously ease of doing business. Actually, the UAE ranks pretty highly in the ease of. Damn fly. In ease of doing business, but every government could do better. And what usually happens in these downturns is governments improve on how that works, because necessity breeds invention. But what could they do, for property specifically? You were talking before about 4% transfer fee.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dubai is very much the stepbrother or stepsister of Abu Dhabi in terms of the way they manage their real estate market. Abu Dhabi have completely abolished their transfer fees.
Not abolished, just suspended
their transfer fees and their mortgage registration fees. Dubai is still at 4% when Abu Dhabi was at 2%. I think for sentiment-wise, and I feel that Dubai is quite a sentiment-driven market, a reduction or a hiatus in those fees would be very welcome. I think that sentiment driven into the market in Dubai would actually give people a lot more confidence. So I think that's something they could explore. Obviously, as you guys have done, put a hiatus on the mortgage registration fees. Again, anything that can be done. But then a lot of the income that Dubai has is from the transfer fees. So it's in their interest to obviously try and maintain them as best they can. So perhaps not an abolition, but a 50% reduction.
Yeah, I mean, the value for countries really is not really, if you stop charging fees, it isn't, buying and selling here. It's foreign direct investment. It's people bringing dollars, rupees, rubles, Chinese yen into the country, that then gets, used on property here and moves into the economy to... moves into the economy, to do other bits and pieces. So real estate, particularly in Dubai, has been, fantastic for bringing foreign direct investment in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value in that in and of itself. I think Abu Dhabi tends to not have the eclectic set of buyers that Dubai has. Our buyers tend to be Abu Dhabi resident,
we're much more a global city.
Yeah, much more UAE national. So something Abu Dhabi might want to look to do is bring more foreign direct investment into property, into Abu Dhabi.
What was Abu Dhabi's thoughts, or what were the mindset in Abu Dhabi on Expo? Did they think it was going to benefit Abu Dhabi? Because it was very much a Dubai thing, although it was a UAE.
It was towards the border between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but obviously Abu Dhabi is still 40 minutes from that border. So I don't think people in Abu Dhabi expected the kind of economic impact that Dubai would get from it. But I mean,
incidentally, just for clarity, the Expo has been pushed for another 12 months further down the line. Obviously, because who wants to go to a big event with 250,000 people in here going to it when there is a pandemic going on? So understandably moved further down the line, 12 months. That was a real boon for Dubai. It was what we
we're talking about what the government can do.
Well, this is it. They've moved it. So it was one thing they were doing. Sorry, it's one thing they were doing, which unfortunately has not come to pass. But in 12 months' time, hopefully, when things open up, we'll have the Expo and, 250 million visitors. We retain 1%, 2.5 million people. Fantastic for population growth. So that was one thing that they were doing, which has not come to pass, but will come to pass.
Yes. Another thing that could be done, so we've had the loosening of loan to value ratios by 5%. There's still further to go in that. You could loosen it by more, or you could just set a floating rate and say to the banks, lend, have a look at your book and lend what you like, which I'm sure the banks would be happy with. But it's something that the UAE government's put in place there because they see, and rightly so, and it happened in 2009, a possible systemic risk with real estate lending by the banks in the UAE because real estate is such a massive part of the economy. But so the UAE central bank could loosen that loan to value requirements and more, but knowing that prices are dropping, so that could then end up on banks' balance sheets. And
do you think, going back to the transfer fees, do you think a direction more towards, so in the UK we have a thing called stamp duty. So stamp duty is 0% transfer fee from purchases from 0 dirhams to, let's call it 200,000.
But it's the same as transfer fee, right? But it's graded.
It's graded, yeah. It's a graded transfer fee. So it's not putting it in dirhams. It's not transfer fee from 0 to 100 to 200,000 dirhams, and then sort of gradually grades up to as much as I think 6%.
So the more expensive the property, the higher the transfer fee.
Yeah. It's a bit of a pain to calculate out, but there are calculators. But potentially that would drive more business in the lower end of the market, which would conversely inflate the rest of it.
Yeah, no, that's a possibility. I can see that. I'm not sure it would support the market that much, but what it might do is might spread the fees a little bit thinner, actually get more people to be owner-occupiers as opposed to investor, sort of renters. But that might be a long-term goal of the market to have that.
I don't think there's an issue with being an owner-occupier if you want to be one in Dubai. I don't think if somebody has the deposit and they want to be an owner-occupier.
Well, so here's the thing. So another thing the government could do is sort of expand the visa system,
which they're doing in Dubai.
Yeah. Well, what's going on in Dubai?
They have the 5-year holiday visa.
That's a long holiday.
It's a long holiday. Multiple entries, so you can come and go as you please. You obviously have to have, I believe, a property worth $1 million dirhams here in Dubai, or savings of I can't remember how much in a current account in Dubai. They also have what they call golden visas. So if you've been here for a long time and you've been a productive member of society, then you do become eligible for a golden visa, which is lifetime access to the UAE.
Yeah, I think that's on discretion. So there are visas that you can get. So the UAE one is a property must be worth 5 million, and then you get a 5-year renewable visa. Now I know Dubai has
$1 million
Dubai has a 1 million property, but then it's 6 months multiplication or
investment
something
visa.
like that. Yeah, but what the UAE could offer, and a lot of people are talking about this, is longer term visas with property. And let's say you could get a 5-year visa with a 1 million dirham property.
Or a 5-year employment visa.
Well, I mean, but an employment visa would mean you'd have to have a job. So what we're worried about here is people losing their jobs and leaving. What we want is people to lose their jobs and stay to find another job, start a business, just keep contributing to the economy. So we really want to keep people in the UAE, which is what would happen in the UK. If you lost your job, you'd stay in the UK and still be consuming. Maybe you'd have to go and live with your mum. What I might have to do, go live with my mum. The economy is really terrible. But what would be a good time now, even if it's a temporary fix. So what they've done is allowed people to stay on, not renew their visa until the end of the year, which is positive. But if you were to offer a 5-year visa with a 1 million dirham property, you could see a lot more people buying property.
You have to own that property in cash.
Well, what we're doing is we're suggesting things to the UAE government here. Hello, UAE government. We wouldn't presume to say that you should do this. Just an idea that we're floating about. But if you were to offer a 5-year visa, no strings attached, with a 1 million dirham property, you might see a lot more people, piling into the bottom end there, and have a lot more owner occupiers, which I don't know what it's like in Dubai, but Abu Dhabi, very, very few owner occupiers. Huge numbers of investors renting.
I think there's. I wouldn't even want to put a number on it, but we certainly have a lot more. I mean, you have a lot more institutional investors here in Abu Dhabi than we do. Large institutions.
Now, we got some figures once on one area of Reem Island, and it was 20% owner occupiers, 80% was bought and rented out. So if that's indicative of the whole market, there's a lot of room to have people come in and buy, but they need stability. And right now, people are struggling to say, okay, I want to buy because no one's quite sure where the market's going to go and what's going to happen with their jobs. Like, you give them a 5-year visa with their property. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
What else?
Well, visa thing's good. Obviously, lower fees, interest rates they don't have any control over.
One thing that I advise they do not do is follow Saudi's resolve and increase VAT to 15%, which they did today.
I saw that.
Now, I feel like that would potentially be a bad move to make Dubai a more expensive, or the UAE a more expensive place to live. Whilst people are losing their jobs, people are taking salary cuts. I think that would be unadvisable. Now, Saudi obviously has a different thing. They're far more heavily dependent on oil and gas than I hope we are. So that's the reason behind them doing it. But I just hope that the UAE don't take that on board and do the same thing.
Well, I mean, government's got a balanced stimulus with actually income. Now, the perceived wisdom in the Western world now, it hasn't always been that case, is Keynesian economics, spend your way out of a depression. I think the UAE is extremely well placed, particularly Abu Dhabi, in terms of its reserves. But we have to notice the elephant in the room, that the income, particularly of Abu Dhabi, will be affected if we have oil below $50 a barrel for prolonged periods of time, and the UAE is going to have to recoup that somehow. Now, the received wisdom in the West is don't recoup it now, spend now, because today's a rainy day. But further on down the line, we might see these things happening. Spend your way out of a
Not
crisis.
Necessarily a good idea, but it could be now.
No, I mean, it is a good idea to spend your way out, but at some point down the line, you're going to have to balance the books.
All right, that's enough from me. I think that's enough from him. We've been Two Fat Brokers.
We have indeed. Thank you very much for your time. Please subscribe to our podcast and look out for the next one.
Be well.
Take care.